When people talk about Star Wars Episode 1, they usually just want to talk shit. I love Darth Maul, probably because he didn't have to say a bunch of George Lucas's lines.
Oh, what's happening? Oh, what is this?
I'm so happy, if you can't tell. I just enjoyed Episode 1 so much.
Hello everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Renegades React. Today, we are looking at, actually fairly different take on Dead Meat, as I've seen. I actually haven't seen him do any television series, but Stranger Things. That's a show that we both seen, ain't that right, Nick?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly...
I can't do this
okay,
for very long. That's very uncomfortable.
No, I know. That's why whenever I get hung upside down on certain things, it gives me a headache. It's like there's these roller coasters that actually say, oh yeah, you'll be upside down, like suspended upside down for like a full 15 seconds. I'm just like, oh God.
15 seconds is fine, but like once you're getting towards like a minute plus, it's just kind of like, all right, I'd like to be
well, it's
upside up
because
again.
gravity, all the blood's going straight back to your head.
Yeah.
Wrong head, by the way. Anyway, yeah. Stranger Things Season 1. When this came out, dude, everyone, and I mean everyone, was talking about it. Everyone was just like, oh my gosh, this is like the best new show on Netflix. This is like the main reason to get Netflix right now. You know,
one of the rare instances where I actually agreed with the masses on something.
I agree. Yeah,
like,
same here.
A lot of times people like overhype the shit out of stuff, and I'm just like, it's all right. But like, I went and watched Stranger Things like when it came out. I think I waited like, I usually wait like a few weeks after everybody's like, go watch this thing now. And I'm like, yeah, I might. And like, I'll wait like a few weeks and then I'll finally try it and see what I think.
I'll say this, Netflix.
When I finally watched it though, I was like, hell yeah. Like,
yeah.
It's very cool. A lot of references to stuff I'm a big fan of, like from the 80s and stuff. So like,
yeah.
Plus it just got an interesting plot and it was really fun to watch.
I'll say this, Netflix for the most part has exceeded my expectations on a lot of things. This... Castlevania,
The Witcher,
yeah. I mean, for the most part, they've lived up to it, whereas other places have just let me down.
I think it's not that popular of an opinion, but I really like Baki, which is Netflix's like they produced essentially reboot of the anime.
Yeah.
And I heard people like complaining about different stuff they didn't like about it, but I thought it was really cool. It's a pretty interesting series.
Well, overall, Stranger Things is about to enter Season 4, and it's been a hell of a ride. I mean, 11, Mike, and all the crew, Dustin, Lukas, and now Mad Max, and of course, Will.
I might be one of the few people
a.k.a. the fifth wheel.
Still kind of thinks that the first season was the best on this, though.
You're
not
I heard
alone. Some people be
You're
like,
not alone.
Season 2 was better than the first, and I was like, I think it was it was still pretty good, but it wasn't quite as good as the first.
Season 2
it had that one episode too that was just kind of like everybody kind of agreed, like whereas the first one didn't really have any.
Where'd that come from?
The first one didn't really have any bunk episodes.
No, it didn't.
But I feel like I have one change like that I kind of talked about with people. I'm like, if they had just done this one simple thing, I think it would have actually increased the quality of the season without them having to actually do anything different or change or put any extra effort into anything, which was essentially put the episode where 11 comes back before the episode that shows where she's been and what she's been doing.
Yeah.
Because her just coming back right there would have been way more of like, oh shit, yes, it's her, like moment, like than us knowing that she's basically on the way back and she'll be back in time to save them from that situation.
Yeah.
And then you can take the next episode to be like, yeah, this is what I was doing. And but it was still kind of dumb. Like, but I think that would have made that moment like more awesome.
I think
just have her show back
I can agree with you there. That would have made that moment hit a lot more. And also the moment where I think you could do the flashback to where she did what she did would be, you could have a moment where 11 gets weak and passes out, and her and Mike and the guys and even Sheriff Hopper are sitting around, and then they're just like, where did you go? And then all of a sudden that's when Mike finds out that Hopper has been hiding her this whole time, and then that's when Mike and Hopper have that moment in that episode, and then they go back in there and it's like she's back now, and you need to hear and we need to know where she's been and what's happened to her. And then that's when she finishes the story about how she went and found her sister, and then so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. I agree with you 100% there. Yeah. That actually is a better fix than what I had in mind.
Season 3 I thought was better than 2.
I agree with that.
I still think that the first is my favorite.
Well, it's hard to beat first impressions, and this was a hell of a first impression. Mm-hmm. And there's shows that do a great job on building on a great concept. This show had a great concept and sort of hit its precipice in the first season, and it's been trying to live up to that. Am I correct that you also hear that 4 is supposed to be the last one? That is a rumor right now. I've heard that the Duffer Brothers said they wanted to end it. The most they would do is 5. I would think 5 will be better, because right now I feel like they haven't opened as many questions as, like, say, a show like Game of Thrones had by, like, its 3rd, 4th season. But there's still a lot of questions to be answered about this show. And I don't want it to be one of those things, like, I'm okay with, like, a couple of open-ended, like, things with a series like this. Yeah. But when you're going to invest someone through a series that's this good, taking the figure it all out yourself, make your own theories for, like, every question you've come up with throughout it, that is not really satisfying. That's a bit cheesy. I want at least, like, a good amount of answers, like at least, like, a little over half, like, you know, if not a little bit more. Like, maybe, like, one big question that they can kind of be like, and this you'll never know, and just that's that way the fans can, like, always talk about what's in the box type deal, you know? Yeah, kind of. But, like, I hope they answer a lot before they finish it, because there's still a lot of stuff I want to know about what the hell's going on and everything, you know? Mm-hmm. So, just history of stuff. There's a lot of world building potential to it that I feel like if they only do one more season, we're not going to see elaborated on all that much. Again, that's just a theory right now. Yeah. I guarantee you, if season 4 goes swimmingly, they'll do a 5. They'll either that or they'll do a movie closeout. They'll do like a 2-hour movie closeout, which would also be cool. But then again, I still don't like movie closeouts that much. I liked it with Breaking Bad because the story was done, and we just got something extra we didn't really expect or know we were getting from the movie. It wasn't necessary to close things up and answer questions. It was like a postscript. Yeah. It was like a PS. That's a lot better in my opinion than like what some series have tried to do, where basically the series got cut off and then they try to wrap everything up with like one movie, like Serenity. Like, as much as I love Firefly, like Serenity is highly disappointing as like just as closure for that series, like for sure. And there's decisions made in that film that suck. Everyone is very, very displeased with. Yeah, very unsatisfactory. I am a leaf on the wind. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna finish that sentence. Anyway, this is Dead Meat Stranger Things Season 1, Part 1 of 2. So we hope that you all enjoy this. Here we go.
Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror media. I'm James A. Janice, and today I'm trying something new. Never before has a full-fledged TV series been covered on the Kill Count, but today I give it a shot, because I'm looking at Stranger Things, Season 1, which premiered on Netflix in 2016. I don't know if there's a bigger series out there that I could have picked for my first TV show on the Kill Count. Sure, there are longer-running horror shows, shows that are more horrific, and even a few shows that are part of franchises whose movies I've covered on the Kill Count. This.
I vote for that too.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Or Ash versus the Evil Dead.
Or that.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, American Horror Story is my vote. You can leave out Roanoke if you want to, by the way.
I think a lot of people feel that way. I
wouldn't give a shit if he left out Roanoke and just skipped it, like acted like it didn't exist.
Yeah.
And sure, Stranger Things isn't pure horror. It has elements of sci-fi, adventure, drama, comedy, all of the things. I'd say tone-wise, it's like a slightly more dangerous Amblin entertainment film, but that's horror enough for me. After all, I covered Jurassic Park and Upgrade, right? What's special about Stranger Things is how popular it is with people who might not normally be into horror. Just like the Amblin films from the 1980s, Stranger Things manages to be for everyone, which is why it's probably Netflix's most popular show. I have to say probably because Netflix doesn't share stats like that. Show us the numbers, you cowards! Created by twin brothers Matt and Ross Duffer, Stranger Things takes place in the same era that those Amblin films were made, the 1980s, with the first season set in 1983. It's a show without cynicism, with a story that feels like a cross between Stephen King and Spielberg with a dash of John Carpenter. A formula Netflix was so confident in, it bought the show less than 24 hours after the Duffers made their pitch. Stranger Things primarily follows four 12-year-old friends who could be ripped straight from a Stephen King novel. They curse, they bike around, they play D&D, and they don't let things like potential monsters stop them from doing what they have to do. That sense of adventure helps when one of them disappears and the others set out to find him, eventually with the help of a young girl they encounter who has some serious telekinetic powers. But you already know all this. Pretty much everyone has seen this show, and its dominant popularity led to a whole host of awards, mazes at Halloween Horror Nights in 2018 and 2019, and continued renewal of further seasons, with the second released in 2017 and the third in 2019. Production for season 4 began in February 2020, but was shut down due to COVID. Hopefully, it'll eventually get made. By the way, if you're new here and you couldn't already tell, my kill counts aren't just kill counts. They also go into the plot and production info behind everything I cover, thus this video's length. Oh, and also, my hair and beard aren't normally this long. Quarantine, you know? And as far as this kill count goes, listen, these seasons are between 6 and 8 hours long. Obviously, way more than the average movie length. That's why I'm gonna break each season in half, so you'll have 2 videos for season 1 and 2 videos for season 2. I want to cover season 3, but it's not out on Blu-ray yet. I can get the files from Netflix, but they're lower resolution and kinda look like poop. So we'll see what I end up doing. I don't know. That's a problem for future James. Present James is gonna go through season 1 of Stranger Things and see just how many kills there are.
I know there's not a whole lot in the first season.
The series
Do what?
I know there's not a whole lot in the first season.
There's quite a few deaths. I mean, especially when the Demogorgon comes to play.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Plus,
forgot about like the ending sequence.
Don't forget Barb.
Yeah, I know. That's one that I definitely know about. Everybody remembers Barb.
Justice for Barb. I remember that hashtag. God. Yeah. Sucks.
Begins in Hawkins, Indiana, in November of 1983. This small Hoosier town is home to a big old federal laboratory, and boy is it blinky inside. Those strobing lights are only part of the reason this scientist is scared though. The other reason is what pulls him into the ceiling of this elevator and murders him off screen, establishing right away that Stranger Things is about to have some dangerous things. In the basement of a suburban home, 4 12-year-old friends, who are going to grow up way too fast, sit around a table playing Dungeons and Dragons. This is Mike Wheeler, played by a 12-year-old Finn Wolfhard, Dustin Henderson, played by a 13-year-old Gaten Matarazzo, Lucas Sinclair, played by a 14-year-old Caleb McLaughlin, and Will Byers, played by an 11-year-old Noah Schnapp, who also has a YouTube channel nowadays. Check it out. Also, since season 1 was filmed over 6 months, yes, Finn was 13 by the time they wrapped. Just try to come at me, mother fact checkers. This cast of kid actors is incredible and crucial to the show's success. The Duffers and casting director Carmen Cuba auditioned over 900 boys to fill the roles, and the ones they settled on ended up becoming real-life friends between casting and production. This scene, which was also the first one the Duffers wrote, was the first thing filmed for the show, and it was a relief for the filmmakers to see the boys having such natural chemistry. Mike is DMing for the others and has a pretty fearsome opponent lined up for them to fight.
Demogorgon!
Before Will can resolve his turn though, the kids are kicked out by Mike's mom Karen. They ride off on their bikes as the show's synthy score already hooks the audience.
Yep.
I don't think it's controversial to say that Stranger Things' score is a huge reason it was such a hit. It was composed by Kyle Dixon and Michael Stein of the band Survive. The Duffers discovered them when 2 of Survive's songs were featured in the awesome 2014 movie The Guest. They created more than 13 hours of this electronic score, which is reminiscent of John Carpenter's work. It's meant to feel both modern and nostalgic at the same time, much like the rest of the show. Lucas peeled...
Damn it, you didn't talk about any of the synths they had, man. Some of those synths in the background cost thousands of fucking dollars and are fucking impossible to find.
Not everybody is as big of a music nerd as us.
Oh my god, dude, that Jupiter 8 back there. Fuck me. Oh, God, if I could have one of those. Christ, I'd be in heaven.
I wouldn't know what to do with it if I had it.
Oh, so many possibilities, and they don't make the parts anymore, so you can't replicate it. Fuck.
Also, you couldn't fix it if it broke.
This is true. God, my friend Aaron Lee has one, and he will not let anyone touch it. It's in the basement at his house, and it is in a room by itself, surrounded by a few other synths in there. But that one in particular, he is very adamant. No one can touch this. In there, he has I think it was a Korg Triton 3, which is about a $2,000 keyboard. Fuck, that thing's can do anything. But the analog sound the digital sound that you get, that honestly is just impossible to get anywhere else on that Jupiter. Fuck. I would die if I could have one.
Goes off for his home first, and after they pass Dustin's house, Will Byers is left biking by himself, straight through that Scary Labs property. That means this poor bowl-cut bastard is about to get a Slender Man attack. Nah, that wasn't Slender Man, but it still fucked him up pretty good, huh? Will gets home, but nobody's there, and since that misty mofo outside can unlock doors with his mind, Will runs to his shed to arm himself. Hardy little feller, if, a little shaky. But it's too late for Will Byers. The creature rises up behind him, and after Will whimpers in fear, a light flickers and they disappear. Nice work, Stranger Things. That was spooky. I think you've earned yourself a title card. You only get one title card per season, okay? Don't expect me to title card each episode here. Aww. Stranger Things' iconic title card was inspired by old paperbacks, especially Stephen King's, and designed by the studio Imaginary Forces, who were rewarded for their work with an Emmy for Outstanding Main Title Design. The next morning, Will's mom Joyce finds her son missing from his room. Joyce is played by Winona Ryder, previously seen on the kill count in Alien Resurrection. She's upset that her older son Jonathan, played by Charlie Heaton, doesn't know if Will came home last night, but he was out working extra shifts to help his financially disadvantaged family. Joyce starts making phone calls on her yellow phone, already worried about Will, having no idea just how much worrying she has ahead. The other kids get to school and are picked on by bullies Troy and James. They especially target Dustin since he has cleidocranial dysplasia, a birth defect that affects about 1 in a million people, including actor Gaten Matarazzo. It's a bone development thing, which is why Dustin is missing his front teeth and has some hypermobility in his shoulders. Mike's older sister Nancy Wheeler, played by Natalia Dyer, gets to Hawkins High and talks to her best friend and fan favorite character Barb Holland, played by first-time actor Shannon Purser. Barb wants to know all about Nancy's recent fling with the school's cool guy Steve the Hare Harrington. Though, real talk, to me, actor Joe Keery looks more like an improv comedian than some kind of cool jock. The police chief of Hawkins is the 6'3" mask of masculinity, Jim Hopper, played by occasional Hellboy David Harbour, who insisted his character almost always wear a hat, perhaps as a nod to Hopper's Indiana Jones-like swagger. Hop gets to
and they are in Indiana
due to his drinking habits, and finds Joyce Byers waiting for him in his office. She's worried about Will because Will ain't a cool guy like Hopper.
He's a sensitive kid.
But Hopper's not too concerned and says the kid is probably with his dad, Joyce's ex-husband Lonnie. Still, the chief's no slouch, so after typing up that Will is missing in a direct homage to Sheriff Brody typing Shark Attack in Jaws, he heads to the school to talk to Will's friends, interrupting them while they're hanging out with their science teacher Scott Clark and using his new CB radio.
Hello, this is Mike Wheeler, president of Hawkins Middle AV Club.
They tell Hopper that Will would have been heading home from Mike's last night using Mirkwood, a dirt road they've nicknamed after a forest in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah, shut up, Dustin! As Joyce and Jonathan look for Will at his homemade wood sport, Castle Byers, Hopper and his officers find Will's bike abandoned near Mirkwood, which is enough to finally worry the chief.
Bike like this, like a Cadillac to these kids.
Mirkwood is close to Hawkins' lab, where experiments are conducted at the behest of Dr. Brenner in all his peroxided greatness. This government scientist is played by Matthew Modine, but he's no joker when it comes to safety measures. That's cause he and these other guys have got a walk through the lab's basement, where potato flakes are floating everywhere, and stare at this nasty pulsing hole in the wall, which they say is the source of something bad. They also mention that they've misplaced a young girl, who's now walking through the woods in a hospital gown. She sneaks into the back door of a diner and is caught stealing fries by burly diner owner Benny Hammond, who's a captivating character right off the bat because of Chris Sullivan's gentle and empathetic performance. He sees a tattoo on the girl's arm, and although I would have thought it said 110, he correctly reads it as 11, which turns out is her name.
11.
11 can move things with her mind, but it's a trick that Benny doesn't see since he's too busy calling social services for help. Unbeknownst to him, a whole team of people at Hawkins' lab are listening in on his phone call. And I don't think Hawkins has an Edward Snowden around to tell people what's up. 11 is played by then 11-year-old Millie Bobby Brown, a British actor who broke out in the 2014 show Intruders, where she gave a performance that earned her praise from Stephen King. To be cast as 11, Brown beat out the over 300 other girls who auditioned for the part. Although she and her parents were initially hesitant to shave her head for the role, the Duffers convinced her it'd be cool by showing her a picture of Charlize Theron from Mad Max Fury Road. Of course. Because who wouldn't want to be a little Furiosa? Furiosita? Hopper brings Will's bike back to the buyer's home.
God,
and does some
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Until the clues lead him to the shed, and he does not like what he sees in there. Since the police are now concerned, Karen Wheeler bars both her older kids from leaving the house, which sets off a big ol' argument that Wheeler patriarch and human toad Ted doesn't do much to control.
Hey, what'd I do?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Ted. That's the
the problem.
Benny is letting 11.
Okay, I need to shut the fuck up. God, Jesus. Okay. I didn't know he was gonna say that. Come on.
Eat ice cream and listen to Jefferson Airplane when a woman claiming to be from social services shows up. But he just made that call. She must have driven there fast, almost as fast as her draw. Oh my God, they killed Benny! You bastards! 11 runs away, stopping only to...
Benny was a cool character. I liked him because he completely just like subverted the whole like big burly man must be angry and mad. No, instead he's actually endearing and he actually cared.
Yeah.
It was just like, damn, this guy's actually pretty dead. Just shit.
Kill two dudes with her mind powers. Maybe by sending spoons into their heads? I don't know. For now, she's managed to once again evade Dr. Brenner. There's a happening Hawkins search party for Will, during which we learn that Chief Hopper had a daughter named Sarah who died a few years back. Since Will's friends aren't allowed to help with grown-up search parties, they head out to Mirkwood to look for him on their own. It starts to rain, making their search for him more difficult, but in this wet mess, they come across 11, which is how episode 1 ends. They take her to Mike's basement and give her some warm clothes, and immediately learn that she's lacking some social skills.
Yep, turn around.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Lucas doesn't trust her, thinking she escaped a mental asylum or something, but Mike is willing to let her stay the night in his basement, inside a cozy little blanket fort. They properly introduce themselves to each other, and Mike comes up with the nickname L, beginning a relationship that the Duffers compared, at least initially here, to E.T. and Elliot. That comparison isn't as apt in later seasons.
No.
The next morning, Mike gives Elle some waffles, which is gonna be a whole damn thing with her, and she tells him that she's hiding from some bad man. Boom. Hopper comes to the buyer's house and tells Joyce they haven't found anything yet. She tells him about a phone call she got the night before and says she heard Will on the other end. You sure that was Will, Joyce? Sounded more like the electric gremlin to me.
No, it was him. It was Will.
Okay, if you say so,
Sure
lady.
thing.
Maybe just ask Dr. Brenner.
Sure
if
thing,
it was
Quatey
Will.
Waity.
He's been listening to all your phone calls. At school, Steve Harrington and his douchey friends Tommy H. and Carol invite Nancy to a parentless party at his house that night. His clique talks shit about Jonathan as he puts up missing buyers flyers, but Nancy reaches out and expresses sympathy to him. Wonder if this was before or after actors Charlie Heaton and Natalia Dyer started dating in real life. Unlike his sister Nancy, Mike didn't go to school today. He doubled back on his bicycle so he could show 11 his house, including his prize CRT.
It's 22 inch. That's like 10 times bigger than Dustin's.
Dustin, dude, why you got a 2-inch TV? Although Eleven's not into Yoda, she does take an interest in a picture of Mike and his friends, pointing out Will and indicating that he's familiar in a scene intentionally shot like one in the 1985 film Witness, when a young Lukas Haas identifies Danny Glover in a picture. Having skipped out on school after putting up those flyers, Jonathan thinks back.
Kid in that movie was also a mute. Like 11 was early on in the show, where she didn't talk very much. Damn. All the similarities between the 80s films that I didn't... There's a lot that I did pick up, but there's some subtle ones I did not pick up on. Yeah, that's one of them.
There's definitely references in there that I didn't get, for sure.
Fuck.
Back to a time he hung out with Will and got him hooked on the Clash.
Should I stay or should I go?
He also gave Will a bunch of other cool bands to check out.
Joy Division, Bowie, Television, The Smiths.
And between that taste in music and that Evil Dead poster on the wall, high school James would have probably hung out with Jonathan Byers. Increasing his coolness is that he's such a good older brother, comforting Will when their dad disappointed him by skipping out on a playdate. It's their dad, Lonnie, that Jonathan goes to see now, all the way in Indianapolis. Lonnie's played by Ross Partridge, who had a small role in the Lost World Jurassic Park as an annoying guy who recognized Ian Malcolm on the subway.
Mother of God!
He and Jonathan don't have a good relationship, especially because Lonnie's always talking shit about Will and Joyce, so after making sure that Will isn't hiding anywhere there, Jonathan leaves his dad with one of those homemade flyers. Joyce heads to downtown Hawkins, played by the town square of Jackson, Georgia, and stops by her work to pick up a pay advance and a new telephone, since hers got a bit too toasty. While she's out, Brenner and a bunch of scientists from Hawkins' lab show up at her house, and they walk around pointing their science doodads all over the property. In the shed, they find something that really sets the readers off, but the invasive investigators are gone by time Joyce gets back and plugs her new phone in, hoping she'll get another call from her electrically transmitted son. After school, Dustin and Lukas go to Mike's house, where he tells them that 11 pointed out Will, and that maybe the bad men who are after her have taken him. This potential lead gets Mike so excited he starts singing Electric Six.
Danger! Danger!
High voltage! But Lukas doesn't buy it and just wants to go tell Mike's mom about 11. She stops him with her mind powers, a bloody nose, and a single word.
No.
The police are searching for Will near Sattler Quarry, played by Atlanta's Bellwood Quarry, which was also used in The Walking Dead, when they get the call to go to Benny's Diner. They find him dead, with the scene made up to look like a suicide, but Hopper is immediately skeptical of his friend having killed himself. That's why he talks to one of Benny's pals, who mentions that he saw a kid with a shaved head in Benny's Diner the previous evening. Hopper hopes it might be Will. Hopper leads another search party, this time out by Benny's Diner, and thanks to the wonderful man that is science teacher Scott Clark, they find a shred of fabric on the inside of a drain pipe. Surmising that Will may have crawled through it, Hopper follows the pipe until he finds where it originates, Hawkins' lab, sitting behind a fence. Impressed by 11's mind powers, Mike, Dustin, and Lukas bring her some of their dinner and teach her the meaning of friendship, like literally.
A friend is someone that you do anything for.
And friends always keep promises, which was also one of 11's vocab words that day.
It means something that you can't break.
She'll be ready for the SATs in no time. She uses their D&D figures to give the boys a little presentation. With Will represented by a mage, she flips their game board over and says that Will is hiding in the Upside Down, hiding from the Demogorgon. Shit! Nancy gets Barb to join her for the party at Steve's, promising that it won't just be Steve trying to get into her pants, since Tommy H. and Carol will be there too.
Tommy and Carol have been having sex since like 7th grade. It'll probably just be like a big orgy.
Come on, Barb. Does this look like the kind of guy who would host an orgy?
Hello, ladies.
Actually,
Yes.
don't answer that. Jonathan gets back from Indianapolis and goes to Mirkwood to take pictures, hoping to find clues as to where Will might be. He hears a nearby scream and runs towards the source, but it just ends up being the party at the Harrington house. Steve gets Nancy to shotgun a beer, and when she gets Barb to try it too, her friend instead slices open her hand. While Barb's bandaging her hand, Steve and his friends start a game of splashy grab ass, all while Modern English plays, and Jonathan very creepily takes pictures. You're being weird, dude. Joyce finally gets another phone call, and this one actually sounds like Will. But it still gives her a shock and fries the phone all the same.
No!
She pulls herself together when she realizes the lights are flickering unnaturally. And here's the clashing from Will's room. She determines that this must be Will trying to communicate with her, but is then scared out of her house by something trying to Freddy Krueger its way through the wall. She's just about to flee the place entirely when she hears Mick Jones singing from Will's room again. Being unwilling to abandon her son, Joyce heads back inside. Done with their splash around times, the couples at Steve's house pair off to mess around. Barb tries to stop Nancy, but gets sent home instead, leaving Nancy free to go into Steve's room and change right in front of him, and in front of the window, which allows Jonathan to snap a pic. Not alright, guy. While they suck face, Jonathan turns his attention towards Barb and snaps one last picture on his roll of film. He's busy reloading the camera when Barb bleeds a bit into the pool, and that appears to summon the Demogorgon. Its attack causes her to disappear, just like Will did, and Jonathan never sees it happen. Barb wakes up in the Upside Down, that slimy desaturated dimension where the air has a bad case of dandruff. She sees the Demogorgon in the pool with her, and though she tries to climb out, she's unable to escape it. Barb is yanked back into the pool and killed by the monster, and though it won't be confirmed to the other characters for quite some time, this is in fact when it happens. Nancy is completely oblivious to her friend's demise though, since she was too busy making out with Steve. And also, you know, because Barb was in another dimension. After Nancy and Steve bang, she leaves without a romantic goodbye and gets home to find her mother Karen waiting for her. I love Karen Wheeler, partly because Cara Buono also played Faye Miller, who was way too good for Don Draper shit, but also because Karen just really wants to connect to her kids.
You can talk to me. Whatever happened?
Unfortunately, Nancy's not in the mood right now. Jonathan also doesn't want to listen to his mom because she's telling him that Will has been talking to her through the lights. Yeah, hard sell that theory. Nancy goes to school the next day, self-conscious about having lost her virginity, but Steve promises her that he didn't tell anyone about it. He reassures her with a kiss, and everything's good for her again, until she realizes that Barb hasn't shown up for school yet that day. 11 also doesn't go to school that day. Pretty sure she missed the enrollment deadline. So instead, she wanders around Mike's house and plays with his Millennium Falcon. She channel surfs the TV past a bunch of 80s programming until she sees a Coca-Cola commercial that reminds her of a time she was undergoing some studies at Hawkins' lab under Dr. Brenner, who she calls her papa. Even though using her powers gives her a bloody nose every time, her papa wanted to weaponize them and have 11 test them out against a poor kitty cat. Elle refused to kill the animal, but revealed that her powers are indeed lethal when she killed 2 more G-men watching over her. At least, I think she kills the first dude, like from a broken back. The second dude dead for sure though. That's a classic movie neck snap there. What you think about this little murder machine, Brenner?
Incredible.
Well, I'm glad you like her. Hopper and officers Callahan and Powell go to Hawkins' lab, where Jim looks at their sewer entrance and notices they have security cameras all around. They walk past the lab's science-y stuff, supposedly keeping them ahead of the Rooskies, and review the security cam tape from the night Will went missing. There's nothing there, but Hopper notices a weather discrepancy that makes him suspicious.
What are you thinking? I don't know. But they're lying.
He and Officer Powell go to the Hawkins library, where they look through newspapers on microfilm until they find out that Dr. Brenner was sued by a woman named Terry Ives for kidnapping her daughter after they were both involved in MK Ultra, a real-life study from the 50s and 60s wherein the CIA experimented with mind control using drugs like LSD. Fun fact here on the subject of acid, one of its biggest proponents in the 60s was Dr. Timothy Leary, and turns out he was Winona Ryder's godfather. Speaking of Ms. Ryder, Joyce has decided to decorate
wonder if that's why Winona Ryder's so loopy.
She strings lights up all over inside her home, hoping they'll help Will communicate with her somehow. If they do, it'll be worth the weird looks she gets from Karen Wheeler when the fellow mom comes to visit. While they're chatting in the kitchen, we get a kind of poltergeisty moment when Mike's baby sister Holly follows a light bright path into Will's bedroom. There, she gets a little lamp concert as a warm-up act for the main attraction, a monster pushing out from the wall. Joyce gets upset that Holly was in Will's room and brusquely asks the Wheelers to leave. Don't say we never tried to be friendly, Joyce. At school, Jonathan develops his pictures in the dark room where they're noticed by a student named Nicole. That ginger's a snitch and tells Steve what she saw. So after school, the Harrington gang confiscates Jonathan's backpack and finds his creepy peeping Tom pics.
I was looking for my brother. No, this is called stalking.
They show Nancy the most damning picture of his, and then break Jonathan's camera before leaving to go check out the big football game. Nancy stays behind a beat and sees the picture Jonathan took of Barb, so she blows off Steve to go look around his house for any sign of her missing friend. She doesn't find Barb, but she does get scared by a gray figure that runs by, so she returns home and finally opens up to her mom.
Something happened. Something terrible.
Joyce gets some more blinky signals at home and talks to a tangle of white Christmas lights like they're some kind of 20th century burning bush. The lights communicate to her that it's Will and that he's not safe. So in an effort to get some more specific communication going on, she paints the alphabet on her wall with a light over each letter. Using this clever method, Will tells his mom that he's right here, but that she needs to argue and run, because they're a monster in the walls. Hopper and Powell get a call from the station that sends them speeding away. Their lights are seen by the kids, who are trying to use Eleven's powers to find Will, but they're dismayed when she only leads them back to Will's house.
I swear, if we walk all the way out here for nothing...
That's exactly what we did. I told you she didn't know what the hell she was talking about.
They decide to bike after the police lights to see what's going on, and that takes them to Sattler Quarry, where a bunch of emergency vehicles have already gathered.
Oh God, please tell me it's not the kid.
I got bad news for you, Hop, because they're pulling out a body right now, and that body looks like Will. Mike and the others watch this tragedy unfold in front of their eyes, and he gets mad at Eleven for failing to help them save their friend.
What is wrong with you?
He flees on his bike as the soundtrack is filled by Peter Gabriel's cover of David Bowie's Heroes. That needle drop was picked out by executive producer Sean Levy, who directed chapters 3 and 4, the only episodes not directed by the Duffers. While the Duffers had previously written for Wayward Pines and made the 2015 film Hidden, Stranger Things was their first undertaking of this much larger scale. Therefore, it was immensely helpful to have Sean Levy involved, since he directed and produced such big-budget films as Real Steel and the Night at the Museum trilogy. His direction of the end of episode 3 is one of the most emotional moments of the series, as Mike gets home and embraces his mom, at the same time Joyce, fleeing her house, runs into Jonathan and hugs him as sirens blare in the distance. The cops go to the buyer's house and tell Joyce that they found Will's body, but she doesn't believe her son to be dead.
Whoever you found, it's not my boy. It's not Will.
Obviously, the police and Jonathan don't buy her story of electrocommunication, and Hopper thinks it's just trauma similar to what he experienced in the wake of his daughter's death. But Joyce isn't assuaged, so she retrieves an axe from the shed and stares down the wall across from her. She falls asleep on the couch and wakes up to Will. Nah, he's still gone. She wakes up to Jonathan, telling her that they need to go to the morgue. Hopper's already there, and he learns that Hawkins's usual coroner had been sent home last night by people from the state government, who are also the ones that performed Will's autopsy. Joyce and Jonathan are shown Will's body, but in this case, seeing is not believing.
That is not my son.
Mike's still mad at Eleven for not preventing Will's death, but she shows him his anger is misplaced by tuning his radio into WILL. Though he's able to receive Will's signal, Mike's unable to reach him over the walkie, so he radios for Lukas and Dustin to come over and help him figure something out. Though Lukas still believes that the body they saw was Will's, Dustin thinks they may be able to contact Will if they use Mr. Clark's radio at school, which will have a much stronger signal. That means they'll have to go to school though, and that means Eleven is gonna have to look a little less conspicuous. Sounds to me like we need a science guinea pig makeover.
Wow. She looks
pretty. Good. You look pretty good.
Yeah, that wig looks more than pretty good there. As my cosplay experienced fiance has pointed out, that is a very expensive lace front wig that would not have just been lying around like that. At Hawkins' lab, a bunch of G-men in hazmat suits, led by Dr. Brenner, engage in some sticky science. And one dude, a guy named Shepard, slips straight on through an embryo-looking thing pulsating behind that nasty shit on the walls. Gross. They communicate with Shepard through the radio for a while until he starts yelling that something else is in there with him, and an alarm goes off. By the time they pull Shepard's line out, he's nothing more than some blood on a plate and a number on the kill count. At school, Nancy gets mad at Steve because he's more concerned about getting in trouble than he is about what happened to Barb. She talks to officers Powell and Callahan and tells them about how she went to Steve's looking for Barb and saw some kind of creature instead.
I think maybe it took Barb.
She's only further convinced later when she puts together one of Jonathan's creeper pics and sees something suspicious on the side of the frame. Nancy takes the photograph to Jonathan, who's at the funeral home making arrangements for Will. Although he didn't see anything the night Barb disappeared, when Nancy tells him about the creature she saw, he recognizes its description as the same monster his mom's been saying is in their walls. They go to the dark room so Jonathan can brighten and enlarge the photo, and while he does, the two of them bond a bit, with Jonathan apologizing for taking her picture in Steve's window. The newly enhanced photo reveals the figure that Nancy saw at Steve's house, and with proof of this monster in their hands, Jonathan finally stops thinking his mom is crazy. They also get their hopes up that Will and Barb are still alive. I have half good news for you. Mike and the gang bike back to school and run into Mr. Clark, who they introduce to Eleven, saying that she's Mike's Swedish second cousin named Eleanor. Mr. Clark leads them to the gym for an assembly honoring Will, where Mike notices that douchebag Troy making jokes about his supposedly dead friend. After the assembly's over, Mike confronts the bully and pushes him down. And before Troy can retaliate, he's frozen in place and wait a minute, Troy, are you? Yeah, dude.
You're pissing your pants! You're pissing your pants!
All right,
wow.
everybody.
Troy peed himself.
And since it'll be another 10 years before peeing your pants is the coolest, 11 has successfully
Billy
ruined
Madison
Troy's
call out
social
there.
standing. The kids go to the AV room and have 11 hop on Mr. Clark's radio. As she tries to find Will's signal, she thinks back to another time at Hawkins' lab when her papa tried to get her to use her powers to spy on a foreign government official just by looking at his picture.
I want you to listen to what he says and repeat his words back to me.
She looks into her mind and sees him, then relays the man's words over the PA system. Quite a useful trick to have in the middle of a Cold War. Back in the present, she similarly brings Will's voice through the radio. And his friends hear him calling out for his mom. Joyce hears it too, coming from inside her wall. So she tears apart the wallpaper to reveal a fleshy, translucent barrier, behind which she finally sees her son. He tells her he's in a place that's like home, only it's dark and empty and cold, and she promises to save him before he has to run off and hide from the Demogorgon coming to Demageddon. The transdimensional transmission ends with a fire in the AV room that Dustin puts out with an extinguisher, but with her beliefs finally vindicated, Joyce feels confident enough to start hacking away at her wall with an axe. Unfortunately, her efforts don't get her anything other than a new window. At a bar, Hopper talks to the guy who found Will's body in the quarry. When he catches him in a lie about how he made the discovery, the dude shuts down and tries to leave.
The kid is dead. End of story.
But the only thing Hopper's dropping right now is this booze down his throat. And through some physical intimidation, he learns that the guy was told to call Will's body in and not ask any questions. Told by whom? Well, probably the people watching Hopper from that car over there. Oh, they're gone. Hopper goes to the morgue and interrupts this one cop's reading of Cujo to knock him out and gain entry to the body freezers. He pulls out Will's body and, after some natural hesitation, inspects it. It's not cold, it's not clammy, and most damning of all, that thing's full of stuffing, like a goddamn Thanksgiving turkey. The body they pulled out of the quarry was a fake all along, which is why I didn't add anything to the kill count. This fake corpse was built by Justin Rowley and his company Fractured FX, which won an Emmy for their work on American Horror Story Freak Show, and which also made prosthetic bodies for Steven Soderbergh's.
Look up exactly how they did that.
Fractured FX's fake bodies
it
are
was
so
CG.
convincing, in fact, that Boston Children's Hospital partnered with them to create training bodies for their surgeons to practice on. But Hopper's too incensed about this conspiracy to appreciate awesome prosthetic work. He heads back to Hawkins' lab and bolt cutters his way through the fence. And that's where episode 4 of Stranger Things Season 1 ends. The next 4 episodes will finish out the season, but I'll have to look at those next week, because this is a lot of material to get through. You'll get the numbers and rewards at the end of part 2. But until then, I'm James A. Janice. This has been The Kill Count. Thanks a lot for watching my first kill count for a TV series. I want to thank some patrons like Jimmy Schindewolf, Ollie Bolton, Tay Anderson, Patrick Caddy, Andrew Bay-Largen, Yoda Beaton, and Skip MacDougal. If you didn't see on Twitter, I felt like I was under a ton of pressure to make sure I did this episode right. I think I did. It could maybe be a little funnier, but I got a lot of behind-the-scenes info in there. Part 2 is next Sunday. Be good people.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. I mean, leave it to James, man. Leave it to James to just outright just kill it.
There's definitely a lot to cover for one episode of.
Well, of course, sure. It's 4 hours. It's almost 4 hours worth of a show.
Yeah. And
I mean, it's hard enough for him to compile it all down into something that's around 20 minutes. So I can understand why this one was a bit longer than normal. Yeah. This is 33 minutes. Jesus. So overall,
it's cool remembering a lot of the stuff I forgot about it already.
Oh, yeah.
My memory sucks as somebody with ADD. Like, it's just basically non-existent. I found out recently, apparently people with ADD and anxiety, which I have both, just have shitty memory in general. Like, even short-term, like both short-term and long-term memory, like your memory is just not very good. Apparently, if you have those, or it's like at least more likely that it won't be. And I feel like mine is awful. Like, I'll rewatch stuff that I haven't seen in like, a couple of years, and it'll be like, I don't remember like half of this or more. Like, you'd think I would remember more stuff about things that happen. Like, people will make jokes sometimes, like you've done it before. You tried to make a joke to me about something that I should have known a reference from, and I just was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And you're like, this thing? And I'm like, it's been so long since I've seen that, man. I don't even remember that at all. Like,
there's a part in this I really need to see again, because it was something that absolutely I wanted to talk about, but I couldn't. There it was. Yeah, right here. When they tried to pose this off as a suicide. Mm-hmm. There's one big thing that would determine that this is not a suicide. You know what that is?
Gunpowder.
Gunpowder burns
on the wound. Yeah.
Not only, and also scorched skin.
Yeah, I know that from
tremendous amount of heat.
Ace Attorney, because that comes into play in several of their cases.
Yeah, and
it's not usually because it's suicide, but it's like determining the way in which someone was shot and where from and everything. And they're like, if he supposedly shot him at this point blank, like you said, there would have been gunpowder burns. Like, so.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like that's a thing I knew about from that.
And also just the amount of just references and all the little allusions back to the 80s and everything. Just damn.
Yeah, like he pointed out some references I had no idea about because I've never seen the original thing. Like the Witness reference.
Witness.
I didn't think about the typewriter scene being a Jaws reference. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, which Jaws is from the 70s.
I was mostly noticing, like, they play D&D. They named the fucking path Mirkwood. Like, he has an Evil Dead poster on his wall, like the Who poster. Like, they talk about, like, a lot of bands that I like from that era.
Also,
stuff like that.
Also another thing, too, leave it to the guy who's playing Will's older brother. He's British. So yeah, leave it to him to do nothing but bring up British bands.
That's the other thing, is I couldn't remember why I initially didn't like his character, and I didn't like the fact that she ended up going to date him. And I just got reminded, it was because he was being a fucking creeper out in the woods. I forgot about that part completely.
Well, which I remembered him apologizing for it, but then again, the initial action of him doing it to me would, like, okay, ladies, if a guy you knew, all of a sudden you found out that he snapped photos of you in one of your most fragile, one of your most what's the word I'm looking for? Vulnerable. One of your most vulnerable moments. If you found out and he didn't confess it to you, Would
but
you
found
ever
out about it yourself,
Yeah.
and then he apologized. Would you still date him afterwards?
Yeah, would you still be
So I feel like
interested?
the answer is going to be almost universally no.
Yeah, which
like there's people who will forgive people for stuff and be cool with them, but I don't think that
there's a lot I'm willing to forgive.
most ladies are going to be completely turned off by that. I feel like.
Yeah, well,
dude, I would even be completely turned off if I found out a chick did that to me. I would be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
like, which I mean, I know there's probably dudes that would overlook it just because dudes are more desperate a lot of the times. It seems like
ain't that the truth?
But like me having personally dated someone that did make me feel extremely uncomfortable and kind of stalked me and stuff for a little bit. Like they're cool now, but like yeah, I wouldn't.
Honestly, voyeurism. The thing about voyeurism,
I would be like too creeped out by that. I'd be like, no.
the thing about voyeurism that always mystifies me is that people like that. Have you ever seen the movie Rear Window?
Mm-mm.
Well, the main protagonist is pretty much a voyeur. He doesn't really have a choice in the matter because number one, he's a photographer for the news, and he acquired a very severe injury that requires him to pretty much be in a wheelchair for the next X amount of time. And anyway, he has no choice but to just stare out his window because it's set back in the 1950s and he doesn't really have a television. But all he does is just stare out his window and see his neighbors' lives. Like there's a newlywed couple, there's a ballerina who is trying to make it on Broadway, there's the landlady, there's a married couple who pretty much sleep on their on their fire escape because it's too hot in their home. There's a disheveled lounge singer who's trying to write a new song. There's all these characters, and then of course there's the Thorwald family who are experiencing marital problems. And throughout the film, he sees these people and he becomes obsessed with figuring their lives out, figuring them out. And I'm not saying that that's exactly what Will's brother wanted to, was trying to do, but in all honesty, some people seek connection, and they feel by watching others they can understand a deeper connection with that person without the person having the knowledge that they're being watched. The mentality of it is very psychologically damning. I don't understand it, but at the same time, it's just through voyeurism. Some people like the fact that they're being watched. It's just like girls with OnlyFans accounts. They get off on the fact that they're being watched.
I think it's like almost anything else.
But
though.
they're the ones
it's,
choosing to put that out there.
Yeah, it's within consensual terms.
Yes. Whereas what Will's brother did right there was completely non-consensual.
Yeah.
Completely.
I don't know. Even being reminded of it now, it just makes me immediately dislike his character again. like even though he kind of redeemed himself after a while, like I was like, all right, he's not that bad. Like, but yeah, that's pretty fucking creepy.
It's a bad not first impression, but it's a bad impression.
I mean, just considering the fact, like, my brother's missing right now, right, and I'm going on an investigation to try to find him.
You see, things were good there.
And I come across a girl from school that I think is really cute, and she's in a pool, and now I'm seeing her through a window, like, undressing. Like, I'm going to be like, wouldn't you think a little bit more worried about, like, no, I'm here to find my brother, Like, I need to not get distracted. But it's like, I mean, I guess dudes of that age, like, with their hormones running wild and stuff.
Yeah, hard to control
be
sometimes.
a little more ADD on that front, like, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's unfortunate he even had the camera with him, because I think modern day, if you were put in that situation, maybe if you're not that creepy, your first thought wouldn't be like, oh, I have my phone, snap. Like, that would be the creepiest thing you could pretty much think to do right there.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, he has this bulky camera in his hands, and he's like, well, I may as well,
yeah,
a little easier, like, to accidentally have a weird thought like that, maybe, but I don't know.
Well,
it's still just a little weird.
How people come to
it's
the
hard, it's hard
mentality
to
of
justify, like, for sure.
No, there's no way to justify voyeurism unless you have a situation like Rear Window. But again, that's a very, very extreme circumstance. But anyway, yeah. The whole thing with Stranger Things is that I love this series. I cannot wait for season 4 whenever the hell they finish it. I think they may have started filming again because a lot of productions have started up again. For instance, The Matrix 4 started back up. under complete and total protection from COVID. You know, they're on set, social distancing, wearing masks, and there's daily testing, and then there's also, you know, if you come on to set, they check your feet, they check your temperature when you come on set, and if you have a temperature, they send you home. And also, if you're showing symptoms like you have a cough or anything like that, they send you home. Doesn't matter. And yeah, the whole thing is just like they're being a lot more safe about it. But still, I would say it'll probably be holiday season whenever we either holiday season or early next year when we get Stranger Things season 4. If they are able to maintain pace. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this was Stranger Things season 1 kill count part 1. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. If you want to see the original by Dead Meat, feel free to check out the link in the description down below, and also check out Dead Meat directly by clicking their name in the title of the video. It'll take you directly to their channel where you can be a part of the... How many subs are they up to now? Over 4 million subscribers. And honestly, they deserve it, guys, because these guys are just... I mean, James and his editing team and his writing and, you know, all the writing that he does, he puts a lot of effort into these videos, and they are worth it. So, check them out. And guess until then, everybody, signing off, I'm Nate.
I'm Nick.
We'll see you then, everybody. A peace out.